You owe it to yourself, not to your boss, not to your family, not to the expectations that have been piled onto your shoulders since the day you could understand words. You owe it to you. And 2026 is the year you finally pay that debt. Let me be honest with you. You've been running on a treadmill that someone else built. You woke up this morning, or maybe you didn't sleep at all, and the first thing you thought about was what you had to do for someone else. The emails, the deadlines, the endless loop of notifications. Somewhere along the way, you forgot that your own heart has been whispering to you, quietly at first, but now it's screaming. And you've been turning down the volume because the noise of obligation is easier to handle than the sound of your own unmet potential. But here's the truth. The only person who will be with you on your last day on this earth is you, not your title, not your bank account, not the approval of people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared for a month, you. So when you look back from that moment, what will you say? Will you say, I played it safe? Will you say, I did what I was told? Or will you say, I lived, I risked, I built, I fell, I rose, and I owed every single second of it to myself? 2026 is not just another number. It's a declaration. It's the year you stop apologizing for wanting more, for wanting different, for wanting something that makes your chest tighten with excitement instead of dread. You owe it to yourself to want that thing, that one thing you've been too afraid to name out loud. Say it now, in your head. Say the dream you bury under realistic goals. That's your compass. That's your debt. And it's time to start repaying. Now, let's talk about the weight you've been carrying. Guilt, resentment, exhaustion. You've been telling yourself that sacrifice equals virtue. That if you just grind a little longer, give a little more, sacrifice a little deeper, then someday you'll be free. But someday never comes because the grind without direction is just slow destruction. You've been pouring yourself into cups that have holes in the bottom, and you're wondering why you feel empty. Stop it right now. You owe it to yourself to stop pouring where nothing grows back. You owe it to yourself to look at your calendar, your relationships, your daily habits, and ask one brutal question. Does this serve the person I am becoming? If the answer is no, cut it. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now, 2026 is the year of surgical honesty. You don't have time for people who dim your light. You don't have time for jobs that steal your spirit. You don't have time for habits that keep you small. You owe it to yourself to become ruthless about your own energy. And here's the part that scares you, the part that makes you want to close this video or this page and go back to the comfortable numbness. To change, you have to be willing to look foolish, to fail publicly, to start over when everyone is watching. That fear of judgment, that's the chain. That's the debt collector that's been robbing you of your future. You've been so worried about what they will think that you've forgotten they are not living your life. They will not attend your funeral. They will not pay your bills when you're old. They will not hold your hand in the dark. You will. So why are you letting them drive the car? In 2026, you give back the keys. You owe it to yourself to disappoint a few people. Yes, disappoint them. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them say you've changed. Because you're finally changing into someone who respects their own time, their own dreams, their own peace. That's not selfishness, that's survival. That's the most generous thing you can do for the world. Show up as a whole, lit up human instead of a burned out shadow. Now let me challenge you on something else. You've been waiting for motivation, for the perfect moment, for a sign. You've been reading quotes, watching speeches, bookmarking articles, and then doing nothing. Because inspiration without action is just entertainment. You're not here to be entertained. You're here to be transformed. The motivation you're waiting for will never come like a lightning bolt. It comes from the first step you take when you feel absolutely nothing. When you're tired, when you're scared, when you rather scroll or sleep or eat your feelings. That step, that's the debt payment. That one small, ugly, unglamorous action is worth more than all the vision boards in the world. So what's the step? It doesn't have to be huge. It has to be real. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk every morning to clear your head. Maybe it's writing one page of that book you've been talking about for 5 years. Maybe it's deleting the app that steals 3 hours of your life every night. Maybe it's a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's finally booking that therapy appointment. Maybe it's saying no to overtime. Maybe it's saying yes to that class, that gym, that move, that risk. You know what it is. Don't pretend you don't. That voice inside you knows exactly what you owe yourself. Stop negotiating with it. And here's the beautiful, terrifying truth. When you start paying yourself first, your health, your growth, your peace, your purpose, everything else reorganizes around you. The right people show up. The right opportunities appear. The noise fades. Not because the world changed, but because you changed your frequency. You stop begging for scraps from tables you shouldn't even be sitting at. You start building your own table. And that table has a seat with your name on it. Not the name your parents gave you, but the name you are earning. Resilient, brave, enough. But let's not pretend this is easy. There will be days when you fail, when you slip back into old patterns, when the couch wins, when the doubt screams louder than the dream. On those days, you don't owe it to yourself to be perfect. You owe it to yourself to get back up, not with shame, with curiosity. What did you learn? Where did the trapdoor open? Reset, breathe, begin again. That's not failure. That's the rhythm of a person who is finally alive. Dead things don't struggle. The fact that you're fighting means you're growing. I want you to imagine December 31st, 2026. You're looking back at the year. What do you want to see? A person who finally started that business? A body that feels strong and cared for? A mind that is quieter and more focused? Relationships that lift you instead of drain you? A sense of pride that no one can take away because you earned it with your own two hands? That version of you is not a fantasy. That version of you is already here, buried under years of shoulds and what ifs. And that version of you is begging you to start digging today, not January 1st, today, because the energy of right now is the only energy you have. You owe it to yourself to stop living in the rearview mirror. The past is a place of reference, not residence. You've made mistakes. So has everyone who ever dared to live. You've been hurt. So has every heart that ever loved. But you are not your worst day. You are not your biggest regret. You are the person who is listening to this speech right now, and that person has the power to make a single different choice. One choice, then another, then another. That's how you build a life that you don't need a vacation from. So here is my final word to you. In 2026, you will face 1,000 reasons to stay the same. The world will try to convince you that small is safe, that quiet is kind, that shrinking is smart. Don't believe it. The greatest danger is not failure. The greatest danger is succeeding at things that don't matter. Waking up at 60 with a full bank account and an empty soul. Reaching the top of a ladder that was leaning against the wrong wall. You owe it to yourself to risk the wrong wall. To climb the one that terrifies and excites you in equal measure. You owe it to yourself to be the person who stops waiting for permission. Permission from your past, permission from your fears, permission from a society that profits from your obedience. You are the only one who can give that permission, so give it. Right now, out loud if you can. Say, I give myself permission to owe this to myself. Feel how that lands in your chest. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. That's the sound of a debt finally being acknowledged. And when you walk away from this speech, don't just feel inspired. Act while the emotion is still hot in your veins. Send that text. Make that appointment. Write that first sentence. Throw away that thing that's been poisoning you. Take 10 minutes, just 10, and do something that future you will thank you for. Because future you is not a stranger. Future you is you with less time. And you owe it to that person to give them a better today. 2026 is not a resolution, it's a revolution. A quiet, personal, unstoppable revolution where you stop living for applause and start living for meaning. Where you stop counting hours and start making hours count. Where you trade the heavy armor of perfection for the light suit of authenticity. You don't need to be ready, you just need to begin. And you don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave enough to be scared and do it anyway. You owe it to you, not to anyone else, not to any ideal, not to any memory. To the one person who has been there through every disappointment, every triumph, every sleepless night, every small victory, you start paying that debt. Start today. Start now. In 2026, let the world watch in awe as you finally become who you were always meant to be. Not because it was easy, but because you decided that you were worth it. And you are. You always have been. Now go, owe it, live it, be it.